You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons because, well, I think we all saw this coming, and I do believe there is still a reasonable reason to keep an eye in another direction if the Philadelphia Eagles decide to do anything crazy. But after Dallas closed the door on Mike McCarthy, well, being fired, it looks like, now, I'm going to be honest with you, part of this report is Josina Anderson, so take that however you want to. But I do believe there is a ton of steam now. And I believe it's reasonable to believe that Bill Belichick is about to become the Atlanta Falcons head coach. And now there's real steam, especially after some comments that were made during an interview by Kirk Cousins, that Kirk Cousins and Bill Belichick may be combining for a potential Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl attempt or run. All right, now Kirk Cousins is about to be a free agent. I think this is a great idea. Considering all the weapons that they have, I would assume Josh McDaniels will end up being the offensive coordinator with the Atlanta Falcons, and there are weapons on offense everywhere. They've got a pretty good defense that will end up being a really damn good defense. By the way, the Patriots have some guys on defense that are going to be free agents. Just throwing that out there is something else. And look, Atlanta could still draft a quarterback down the line somewhere. The Falcons will interview Bill Belichick for a second time, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Media. Quote, sources, former Patriots coach Bill Belichick will have a second interview with the Falcons brass this weekend after meeting with owner Arthur Blank one-on-one this past week. Things are ramping up with the greatest coach of all time. Atlanta has an opening for head coach after firing Arthur Smith. Belichick and the Patriots parted ways last week. Now, about an hour after Rappaport's report, CBS's Sports' Josina Anderson tweeted out the following, and she does do pretty well with Falcons reports. Quote, barring a snag in negotiations or a future development, I'm expecting Bill Belichick to become the next head coach of the NFC South Atlanta Falcons, Anderson wrote. His previous rapport with Falcons CEO Rich McKay creates comfort he can't mimic in any other building with a current vacancy. Owner Arthur Blank is very skilled at being able to convince and sell benefits of coming to Atlanta, as I learned from Calais Campbell. The GM dynamic in Atlanta is presumably more palpable for Bill in Flowery Branch than it would be in Philly. And as mentioned, both sides have been talking about this through for a while. Thus, my previous reports, I expect Belichick to reunite with some members of his former staff whenever he makes it official. By the way, Belichick's kids may end up staying with New England, and Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots as their meltdown in that great organization continues. I'm not even going to go into that, but congratulations, Bill O'Brien. I don't blame you for flying the coop. So, Kirk Cousins had this interview with CBS Sports' Isabel Gonzalez, and Belichick was talked about. Now, keep in mind before we hit this that Kirk Cousins was the 9th best quarterback on PFF out of 41 qualifying quarterbacks. And I can tell you, at the time that he got hurt, he was way up here, and he had what looked like, number one, he was steamrolling towards his best season ever, and he was putting up some MVP-type numbers. All right, he finished with 18 touchdowns, 5 picks, and 2,300 yards. But, I mean, he got hurt about midway through the season. So he was headed straight towards, he was on about a 40 touchdown pace, about a 4,300 yard pace. And I think the Vikings would have come back and made the playoffs had Kirk Cousins not gotten hurt. So this is what Kirk Cousins said about Belichick.
So obviously you've been on the headlines so much, but one person you've been competing with has been Belichick. That's you've talked about him before, about like his mind, his football mind, how great he is. So what can you tell me about him? You don't have to go into detail, about what's going on. I would love to hear your thoughts on him.
Yeah, great respect for him as a coach, like everyone else in pro football. I mean, if you go to that many Super Bowls, win that many Super Bowls, go to that many conference championship games, have the defensive production that he's had for years and years, it says it all. And we played him last year on Thanksgiving night, and once again, I noticed several times what he did coverage-wise was challenging, and it was different. And you always know when you play him that you're kind of looking over your shoulder wondering if what you're seeing is correct, because he usually is going to break the mold and do something different. And that's part of what has made him a great coach.
Would you ever play for him if you got a chance?
I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to play with a future Hall of Fame coach, but we'll have to see where March leads. It's just a lot of unknowns right now.
Okay, so that's the part that really got a lot of people not only the praise, but I'm not turning down a chance to play for a Super Bowl winning head coach. This is the Falcons depth chart on offense, and it's ridiculous. Bijan Robinson, Cordell Patterson, Tyler Algier, Drake London, Van Jefferson, Kyle Pitts, and a tight end that Bill Belichick obviously is very familiar with in Jonnu Smith, who was with the Patriots before this past season. By the way, Jonnu put up some numbers this year for the Atlanta Falcons. So obviously there's some dots and some lines to those dots that are starting to connect between the Falcons, Belichick. I think he's taken that job again outside of the Eagles coming out of nowhere, full court press. Mark Davis claimed he wanted to meet with Belichick, but to my knowledge, that hasn't happened. And I just think, look, Mark Davis is having so much backlash right now because he hasn't just named Antonio Pierce the head coach, that I honestly think that Mark Davis would end up losing a couple of guys if they brought Belichick in after Josh McDaniels. I think it would be a nightmare, regardless of whether Mark Davis may have put feelers out, and Belichick was like, nah, I saw how that went with Josh McDaniels there. I don't want to come there. The Rich McKay thing, very interesting. I think this is very close to being a done deal. Who would have thought that? We could have thought back 2 months ago and went, Bill Belichick's going to coach the Atlanta Falcons for the next 3 to 4 years. But it's a very talented team that is missing just a quarterback, basically. All right? I mean, yeah, they've got some other things they got to take care of, but you got to think Belichick will have that defense playing lights out. Even as bad as the Patriots were, that defense was very, very damn good. And I think that came close to him staying in New England. I think the issue he ended up having in New England was that Robert Kraft decided to make a change after the Germany game, and then next thing you know, the team kind of rallied up, and the defense got even tighter, and I still think it was a hard decision for Robert Kraft. He may be regretting it right now. So tell me what you think, black and white sports supporters. It makes all the sense in the world. Kirk Cousins, a veteran quarterback on a team that seems ready to win now, combined with Bill Belichick, there's a lot of wins. I mean, let's be real. Kirk Cousins comes into Atlanta. Belichick's the coach. They're the favorite in the NFC South. As currently constructed today, they would be the favorite in the NFC South next year. Weaker division, and then once they get in the playoffs, there's no telling. There's no telling. We know, we've seen Bill scheme it up. what he did to the Rams in the Super Bowl is still one of the greatest defensive performances we've ever seen. He destroyed that Sean McVay offense. They couldn't adjust to it, and it was a beautiful game plan that nobody talks about. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.